Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Peter Christian. I'm here with the host of the show, Diane Beck, with Windermere Real Estate. Diane has been helping buyers and sellers with real estate in the Missoula area for over 20 years and is very active in the Missoula community. Along with her trusted partners, Diane provides complete service for your real estate transaction. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on newstalkkgvo.com. 98.3 FM and 1290 AM. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Missoula Real Estate Today. I'm Peter Christian, and Diane Beck with us in spirit today, but she always sends wonderful guests. We've talked with Katie before. Katie Deuel is with Home Resource, and we had a great time last time, so we'll try to recreate that magic a little bit now that you've kind of lived through some of the technical things that we have to live with here today. But you're a very good sport, so we appreciate that. Okay, so first of all, tell us a little bit about Katie Deuel and how you got to Missoula and how in the world you ended up at Home Resource.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on the show. I came to Missoula to go to the graduate school at the University of Montana. And I always say...
What were you studying?
I got stuck. I came to...
You got stuck.
I got stuck here. For lots of good reasons.
Okay, there you go.
You know, I fell in love. It's a great place to live.
Right.
Then I wasn't going to leave.
Kind of like Jim Carrot. He quite literally got stuck here. Did you know that? Yeah. He had a flat tire outside of Missoula.
Oh, that's a good one.
And came in to get his tire fixed and just fell in love with the town. And there you go.
There you go.
So go ahead.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I studied environmental studies.
Okay.
And then I did a bunch of work in the conservation movement. And then I was crazy enough to go back for another degree.
Wow.
In social work, and really to bring those pieces together of conservation work. It's part of my heart and soul. Mm-hmm. I love nature.
Part of your DNA, basically.
Yeah. Keeping it all in a good place. But the people are such an important part of that equation of working with nature and keeping it alive and happy. So
okay.
So then I did a social work degree, and then I did a couple things on contract and worked for various groups. And then when the Home Resource job came up, it felt like such a great fit. It's so community-based, and we work on realizing the potential of people, materials, and community, and it's just all those pieces come together in one spot.
It certainly does, and I will tell you that whenever by the way, I just, as a quick aside, how is the construction on Russell affecting you guys?
We're not enjoying it. Maybe it's like your technical
right, yeah.
adventures.
Yeah.
And we have seen business drop off. Right now they're pounding in big metal bars to build the underpass, the bike underpass.
Right.
That's almost done. So I would like to invite everyone back to Home Resource. It's going to be quiet, and we are clean and organized and ready for people to come.
Now, real quick, there is a back way to get into Home Resource,
there
right?
Is.
By going around and coming down Wyoming, right?
Yep. Yeah, you can come down Catlin and down Wyoming. Russell itself, the traffic on Russell hasn't been a big issue. It's still pretty easy to get to us.
Right.
And it should be. All those streets will remain open.
So basically, in case you don't know by now, Home Resource is at the corner of Russell and Wyoming, the hub of construction right now. So anyway,
that's what it feels like.
So let's talk a little bit about Home Resource and the things you folks do, because I just explained to you before we started the show, in my car right now are a couple of shower heads that a friend of mine got a really nice shower head, and as a gift got a shower head for both our showers, and took the old ones off, put the new ones on. And so now I'm going to donate those to Home Resource rather than throwing them in the garbage and who knows where they'd end up.
And many thanks to you, Peter, and to everyone else who brings things to Home Resource. That is the heart and soul of what we do right there, is people donating materials that they don't need anymore, but they still work.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't work for what they were originally meant for, but people use them for other things.
Okay.
We call that creative reuse.
So tell me, you had said you wanted me to ask you that while we're recording today because of the interesting things you do with things like that.
Yeah. So the story there is you donate a shower head, or you donate a door, or you donate a cabinet set. And then there are a bunch of things that we need to do with those items. We sort them, we stock them. Sometimes we have to clean them. Sometimes we have to fix them. Sometimes we have to test them. And all of those things mean that we have a lot of work to do. And if you come to Home Resource, you probably don't doubt that. But all that work means that we're providing jobs for Missoulians. And then people who have jobs, we have one employee who's struggled to find childcare. If you have a job, there are scholarships available for childcare. So in a way, we're making these connections between you donate a shower head and that gives somebody work. And not only does it give somebody work, but it allows them to keep their child at home with them because they have the childcare that they need. Those are the kind of things that we'd like to do for our community while we're keeping all that stuff out of the landfill.
Let me wrap my head around this. A shower head equals childcare.
Well, that's the long story of it.
The long way around.
Not everybody needs childcare.
Yeah,
but
true.
Everybody needs a job.
Yeah, everybody needs a job. And so when people drive by Home Resource, do they kind of do the first time they kind of do a double take because they look back in the back and they go, "My goodness, what is that? Is it a modern art thing or what's going on at Home Resource anyway?"
Well, we in general, you mean when you see the yard and all that?
You see all the stuff that out there.
Yeah. So we're just collecting all those reused building materials that people don't have need for anymore and trying to get them back out to the community at affordable prices. Mm-hmm. We're all about flow of materials. We don't want things to stick around. We want things to come in and we want to get them back out to the people who need them.
Now, the last time you were here, we were talking a little bit about they were deconstructing the mercantile.
That's right.
And so how did that go? Because we didn't get a chance to follow up on that.
That's right. It went incredibly well. It was a really neat process, and it was good for everyone, I think, us included, to see that we could safely deconstruct such a large building that had so many materials. And those materials, those beams, I mean, they were all logged right around Missoula. Mm-hmm. They're really part of our natural heritage. So it was great to get those also back out in the community. We have at this point sold everything that came out of the mercantile.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In less than a year after we got all those materials in, they were all out the door.
So what were some of the things that you were able to repurpose into other lives, as you will, on this 100-year-old building?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. So people did all kinds of things. There's a lot of lumber, and it's all true dimensional lumber. 2x4 is really 2 inches by 4 inches.
Surprise.
And a lot of it was rough cut. So people use that for building projects, but I think it's such special wood that most people use it for smaller things that might be more woodworking. We have an event in the fall, Spontaneous Construction, and people come and we call it the Festival of Creative Reinvention. They make things out of any materials that they find at Home Resource, and that Merc wood was available. Another thing that was available to people is the ceiling tin that was in there.
Right.
There were a bunch of other, those were the main pieces, was the wood and the ceiling tin, and there were a lot of little odds and ends, but the building had basically been deconstructed, gutted already to a certain point. But people made there was a beautiful trestle table that one person made. Someone else made a bar with the ceiling tin as an imprint and inlay.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of fun items come out of that. There was a lamp, Ode to the Copper Kings, it was called. A nod to the wooden metal barons.
I think that, now, did you ever have a chance to go through the Merc before they tore it down so you could take a look at things whether they were still extant?
I did. I was able to walk through it at the level that it was at before we deconstructed it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that's another thing that you folks do. That is another service you offer. It isn't just, hey, I need a 2x4 or I need a new lamp for the living room or whatever. I'll just go to Home Resource. You folks actually go and deconstruct houses because you don't. I know you have this thing where you don't want stuff to go in the landfill, right?
We do. We kind of have a thing about that.
Yeah.
No need to do that, but we do. We had a deconstruction service, so there's a story there too.
Okay.
I think after the mercantile so we started that service as a service that we were subsidizing because we felt so strongly that it was important. And there are a couple other deconstruction services in town, and as our business grew, and we realized it didn't need to be housed in our nonprofit home.
Okay.
So we sold it to the deconstruction manager.
Oh, okay.
And we're really excited to spin off another great green business into the Missoula economy.
Jobs.
Yep. And they are still, it's called Montana Deconstruction Services. They still donate everything that they deconstruct to Home Resource. So the materials still come to us. They still get out to the community. But they're off and running on their own.
Well, good for them. That's awesome. So what kind of things do they bring to you?
They bring us all kinds of fun things. We love what they bring. I mean, one of the most important things that they bring us is lumber. That's a piece that's harder to get from other people. If you're just doing a short remodel of your house, you're probably not going to bring in bunks of lumber. But they also bring in high-end cabinet sets. There are a surprising number of people in Missoula these days who will buy a house and a lot for the lot. And they take the whole house down.
Right.
And then we get everything in it. We get the windows, the cabinets, the flooring, the roofing, and all of those pieces we can reuse again. That's
a heck of a housing market, isn't it?
It is.
My goodness.
It is. Yep. And you all know as much about that as I do.
Well, who'd have thunk that someone would be able to say, okay, I'm not looking at that 1912 house.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that piece of land that is quite literally gold underneath it, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And then they need to have something to do with the house, and rather than just come in and wrecking ball it and get rid of it, tear it up and go to the landfill, let's call the deconstruction folks, and it may take a little bit longer, right?
It takes a little longer. That's the big thing. Usually the price is pretty equivalent to coming in with the wrecking ball. It does take longer. We find that the neighbors especially, it feels so much less violent.
Yeah, well,
they really appreciate that process of watching the building come down and knowing that the materials are going somewhere.
I know if you're a little kid, you love to see the wrecking ball.
Yeah.
But there's something about somebody very carefully tearing apart and making sure that the glass doesn't break and making sure that the door doesn't get buckled and it's almost like you're it's a mash unit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're taking that stuff out and you're taking it to some place where it's going to have a better home.
Exactly. That is the purpose. And it's pretty fun to see.
All right.
And it's fun to see what people do with it too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Home Resource. We talked about a little bit about the deconstruction. So it's a big place.
It's a pretty big place.
Yeah. And so there's lots of stuff in there. So you're the executive director. So take us through.
So we have the two main areas. We have our outside yard and the inside. And we try to keep everything inside that the weather won't ruin completely.
Right.
So if you pull up, you're going to walk in the front door, you're going to see the front counter. Right around the front counter is the high-end antique tchotchkes.
By the way, a really funky front counter. I mean, there's all sorts of different stuff in there, right?
Yeah, you would do well to just take a minute and look around.
Yeah.
We're all about funky.
Yeah.
We want to keep it all fun.
Yeah.
But the front counter is creative reuse. I'll just leave it there.
Let's put it this way. It's extremely Missoula, okay?
That's what we're all about.
Okay, there. So please continue.
Yep. If you walk straight ahead past the front counter, you walk right into the hardware department. There's also plumbing and electrical. There's trim. If you turn left...
We're looking left or right, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know my left and right. If you turn right, south towards the trail, you walk right into the door room. This is a whole room dedicated to doors of all types and sorts.
And we're not talking light my fire doors. These are actual doors, right?
Right.
Look at all these doors albums.
We probably have some.
I feel like I'm at Rock and Rudy's.
The Doors was my first 8-track tape.
Wow.
That says something about how old I am.
You're dating yourself.
And my only.
Usually I'm a cheap date. But anyway, please continue.
Anyway,
we're in the door room.
The beautiful door room.
Right.
Yep. If you walk through the door room, you go outside. So let's not do that.
Into the Led Zeppelin room.
That's right. We're going to turn left for Jimi Hendrix.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
You walk past the trim, like I said, the plumbing, the electrical, down to the lighting. So not only do we have complete lights, we have lots of globes and pieces and parts for lights so that if you get sick of what you've got or you break a piece,
right.
You can come in and replace that. And then if you walk down that aisle, you're walking right past, what we call plumbing, which is a lot of toilets and sinks and plumbing parts.
Right.
Then if you walk just back towards the front counter and head out, you'll walk right past the cabinet section, carpet, glass, and tile. And
now let me ask you this: is there enough carpet to do is it just like remnants, or is it like a whole room?
It's usually a whole room.
Okay.
Yeah, we get some pretty big pieces. I mean, we get remnants, but usually they're big enough to to put in somewhere.
So is there a limit on how small the piece can be, or is we don't want just the
You're asking
doormat.
above my pay grade question, Peter.
Sorry. Okay.
I think it's up to the folks at intake, but yeah,
Okay.
if it's too small, it's probably not super useful.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. The shop, we have a wood shop. It's hidden back there behind the glass and the tile.
Okay.
We don't generally invite customers in there, but we will do cuts for people if they need it.
Great.
And we hold workshops in there. So we have a couple
I
kinds
was
of
going to
workshops.
ask you about that because the last time we talked, I was fascinated because as I've already told you, I can't build or fix anything. So I really admire people who are able to cut and saw and screw and do all the things that need to be done, right?
Yep. And we're trying to create more of those people here in this town.
Okay.
It's the best way to reuse things. If you have a little bit of handiness. Right now, most of our workshops, we work with groups of folks who come to us and say, we want to learn some skills. And it's great. We get to work with great groups of people, a lot of youth. There's the YWCA has a program called the GRIT program, Girls Representing in Trades.
I like it. Yeah.
So they come and do workshops. We have youth from the youth homes who come and do workshops. Often they're building things. They get to learn those skills. It's very empowering for them usually. And usually they walk away with something like they might build a step stool or they might build a birdhouse. So it's something that they made hands-on. They have those general principles under their belt. Sometimes we build things for the community. We built a garden shed for Lowell School. We've built, not a garden. Did I say a garden bed?
Garden shed.
Garden shed.
Right.
Yep. We've built garden beds too.
Okay. All right.
For other groups like the food bank. So those are the kinds of things that we like to do is teach people how to reuse things, use the shop skills, use it safely, and make projects that support our community.
You know, I will tell you that coming from, well, I didn't have a dad. Okay, I grew up without a dad. I'm sure there are thousands and thousands of kids who are in that situation. No fault of their own. It just is what it is. And so you don't have that person right next to you saying, here, Peter, here's how you do that. So, but when you go to, you can do this at Home Resource, right?
Yep, absolutely. So if you have a group that wants to come in and learn shop skills, let us know.
Wonderful.
We'll see what we can put together.
Wonderful.
We also built recently a shade structure. It was a joint project we had the MMW architects in town, did the design for free. Bodek engineers did the engineering for free.
Wow.
Climate Smart Missoula designed the whole thing. It's part of their Summer Smart program.
Well, do you have a network or what?
Yeah. Well, those are the win, when everyone in the community is contributing. And now we have a public shade structure. So when it gets really hot in the summer, it's right on the Clark Fork River on the Kim Williams Trail.
Really?
Near the Native Garden, kind of behind the Missoulian. Every time I go by, it makes me proud. And we had our work programs. We hire youth who are experiencing barriers to employment. We hire all kinds of people who are experiencing barriers to employment and try to give them job skills and other things. But a number of our work programs folks got to build that particular shade structure. So,
well, I'm trying to figure out stuff you guys don't do at Home Resource. I mean, we haven't taken out any kidney stones or anything like that. But we're working on that.
That's right. Sometimes we take more items than we should, and some no.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of things we don't do. We try to focus on that waste reduction and building a vibrant and sustainable local economy.
So let's dive into that whole sustainable economy thing, a sustainable community thing, because most people, okay, I want to build something, so I'm going to go out to the big box store. I'm going to get the what used to be a 2x4 but is no more.
Yep.
Sometimes it's crooked, but you take what you can get, and then you go out and you buy the nails and you go out and buy the screws and all this kind of stuff. When you can do that a lot less expensively and a little bit more, environmentally friendly at your place.
Yep, exactly. So we try to set our prices at 50 to 90% less than what you would find.
Wow.
We have a pretty low profit margin. So we're all about just keeping things moving, but we can't always do that. But generally, it's affordable.
Make sure you're still okay. Hold on, she doesn't want to make a profit. Oh my gosh. But that's wonderful. Yeah.
Right. It depends on the item, but we try to price things well below what they would cost, and then we try to provide our fun and funky customer service to help people think about what they need for the project. If you can't find exactly what you need, often there's something else that will do. And that can be kind of fun too and be creative. But generally, it's a much more affordable experience, and we strive to make it a really community engaged and fun experience for people when they come through.
So do you have, is there a long-term goal for Home Resource? Is there, I know you started here and you're here. Do you have a chance to do any forecasting and say, in 10 years and 20 years, here's where we'd like to be?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, go for it.
We spend time doing that.
Yeah.
So we really, Home Resource, we've always talked about it as a building materials reuse center, and we are that, and we will always be that. But now we're talking about ourselves as a community sustainability center. So not only are we doing the building materials reuse, but we're also educating the public about reuse and about zero waste. City passed a zero waste resolution, and their path is called 0 by 50, Missoula's pathway to zero waste. So we want to help our community achieve that zero waste goal, which, by the way, is the technical definition of zero waste is zero waste or darn near.
Okay, well, I was going to ask you, when you say zero waste, does that mean just use absolutely everything and then reuse it after that, or what?
That's the ideal. And there's lots of ways to do that, but a lot of it starts with, we talk about reduce, reuse, recycle. If we're not reducing how much we use in the first place, we're not going to get ourselves to zero waste. So that's the most important one. It's just thinking really clearly about, what do I need? If you need it, is there a way to reuse something to get what you need? And then, if not, when it's at the end of its life cycle, can we reuse it or can we recycle it? Can we get it out in other ways?
My daughter lives in Seattle, and she became a huge recycler living over there.
Yep.
And so she came home and said, Dad, why are you throwing that aluminum can in the garbage? Why are you throwing that plastic water bottle away? Don't you know you can recycle those? I said, really?
Right.
So, I mean, duh.
Right.
But somebody just has to turn the light on for you. And so now we do that every week. We have a special bag for this and a special bag for that.
Oh, that's super.
But what is kind of a problem, though, is if you don't want to pay extra for the garbage folks to pick it up,
right,
then you need to find a place to take it. And
that's right.
And we found one is out on West Broadway.
Yep.
Just before you get to Sunshine Motors. There's all these huge dumpsters, right?
Yep.
And separate the cardboard and you just put in and so it's kind of a really cool community place to hang out and meet people. Oh, what do you got today?
Right.
Oh, you drink a lot of Pepsi,
I'll take those magazines before you throw them away.
So just so recycling kind of becomes a little bit of a way of life, right?
Yeah. It does. It's all about habits, and like you stated so beautifully, it's you just have to know that it's available and that you can do that.
Right. Because
Missoula is inland and it's a mountain town, it's not that big. We don't have access to all the types of recycling that they do have in places like Denver or Seattle.
Right.
But we can bring all those habits here, and in fact, there are lots of opportunities for people to start businesses that support recycling and reuse.
Now, one of the things I think we talked about before was glass, right?
Yeah.
There are ways to recycle glass, and actually it can be reused.
There are a number of ways to reuse glass. And there is someone who picks up glass in town and crushes it, and then sometimes it gets used in bigger projects, like you can use it in road bed, for example, instead of gravel. Now, the ideal use for glass, though, one concept we talk about is the embodied energy. How many resources have already gone into that item?
Right.
And so glass has a fair bit of that. So if it can be remanufactured, turned into fiberglass or turned into bottles again, that's sort of a higher use than putting it in roadbed and burying it. But the beautiful thing about glass is that it's inert. It's not toxic. And a number of the other things that we look at, like plastics, those are pretty poisonous. We don't really want to keep throwing them in the earth where they're near our water and all of that. And they're causing problems in the oceans. So there are different considerations for recycling, but people shouldn't need to learn all that. They just want to know where to put it and know that they can put it somewhere.
We're not always thinking about the greater purpose when we're driving over there and dumping the stuff in there so we can go to the next store to get our stuff, right?
Right. But we're here to explain all of that. For people who want to know the details, we're here to explain that. And for those who don't, we just want people to have good options and not have to put a lot of mental energy into thinking about, what am I doing with this? It's just available for us. So that's part of working with the city with the zero waste plan, is helping people have all those options.
Well, pardon me for being a bad host, but we're talking with Katie Deuel, by the way, who's the executive director at Home Resource at the corner of Wyoming and Russell. And I kind of wanted to, if you don't mind, talk about the process of dropping stuff off.
Great.
So we drive in, whatever we got, maybe we got a trailer full of stuff or whatever. Does it cost money to drop things off? What's the deal?
That is a great question. So it doesn't cost money. It's free. And in fact, as I said, it's the most important part of what we do is that we get donations from the community and we use those to build all these other pieces of what we do. And if one thing I need to say right here on the radio is that we can't take everything.
I was going to ask you what you don't take.
Anyone who's dropped off knows that. There's some things that we just categorically don't take. We don't, but they're, for the most part, you want to come in and check. I mean, if something's in really bad shape and it can't be reused again, It probably really is garbage. So
if you've got a coffee table that's broken, just throw it out. I mean, or is that something you would want to repair or what?
If it's repairable, we'd consider that. We don't usually take furniture.
Right.
And there are a bunch of stores who do take furniture.
Okay.
Yeah. But we do try to focus on building materials. We get a lot of interesting and funky things. But really, the people there at Intake, you pull up, there's a big sign for Intake. People should come right up to you.
And by the way, they're very friendly.
They do a good job. The best part of their job is working with all these great people who donate to us. And the worst part of their job is saying no.
Oh, well.
People don't usually like to hear that. But
sometimes you got to do that, though.
Yep. Yeah. No, we do. We all have to. But yeah, and then those materials come in, and it, big or small, we're happy to see it all.
Now, is it possible to get a receipt for tax purposes?
I was going to say that next.
I know
Absolutely.
we're selfish, but
Yeah, no, everyone, you should. And we are a nonprofit, and everything you donate to Home Resource will give you a tax receipt. Yep. So if you're itemizing items, take it. I recommend to people that they take it anyway, and then they can decide when it comes to tax time. Now, if you're doing a big remodel, or you're doing a lot of work, or you're a contractor, people can, or our realtors let people know that when you come into a new house and you shuffle things around, if you're donating a lot of materials, we can keep track of those for you. We'll take pictures of those items, and if it's the worth of that is you think it's going to be above $5,000, you get a whole different type of tax donation.
Wow.
So we're really encouraging people who do a lot of remodeling or involved in that in a big way to let us know. Like I said, we'll keep track, and then at the end of the year, we'll fill out a form, and it has to go to an appraiser. If they deem that it's worth over $5,000, you're going to get a pretty big tax deduction.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, we're 27 minutes into
Holy
our program.
moly.
So yeah. So I always like to ask people, what is it that just gets you on your feet and to work every morning? What drives you?
It's the people. It's the people I work with. It's the people in our community. I'm so inspired every day. Yeah, by the people who work there, the people who come there, the ways this community comes together to support itself and make things available to people. It's pretty impressive.
Okay, the nuts and bolts. How about location, hours, the phone number, website? Yeah.
Corner of Russell in Wyoming. We're open 7 days a week, 9 to 6, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5:30, Friday and Saturday. You didn't know this was a trick question, did you?
Yeah.
10 to 4 on Sunday.
Wow. So you are open 7 days a week.
We are open 7 days a week, and we are ready for business. Even with a little pounding, there's less pounding on the weekends, folks. Construction's not an issue. Our phone number is 541-8300, and our website is www.homeresource.org.
Wonderful. All right. So believe it or not, we still have a minute left. So is there any one thing that you're looking for that you need at Home Resource that you'd like to see come through the door?
I would say we just not any one thing. It's the diversity that keeps us strong.
You're supposed to say it's the people.
Oh, we do. It's the people. We want the materials coming in and the people coming in.
Katie, it's always a delight to have you. We appreciate it. That's going to do it for Missoula Real Estate today. And on behalf of Diane Beck and Windermere Real Estate, thanks for joining us. And you folks have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning into Missoula Real Estate today. We hope you found the information over the last 30 minutes to be helpful. If you have any suggested topics for future Missoula Real Estate Today programs, or any questions about buying or selling real estate, please email Diane. Here's the address:
It's Diane Beck at Realtor.com. That's Diane Beck at Realtor.com. We'll see you next week on News Talk KGBO.com, 98.3 FM and 1290 AM.